Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Nature Channel. Imagine looking up at a calm, quiet sky, and suddenly seeing the clouds glow with every color of the rainbow, all at once, as if the sky itself is dreaming. Tonight, we're going to drift slowly through one of nature's most peaceful wonders, fire rainbows. They're not made of fire, and they're not really rainbows, but they are something almost magical, something that floats softly above the world and reminds you that beauty is always somewhere nearby, even when you're not looking for it. So settle in, let your shoulders drop, and let the sky carry you gently into rest. There is something that happens high above the earth, so high that most birds never reach it, so quiet that the wind up there makes almost no sound at all. It happens when the sky is feeling particularly calm, when the light is soft and golden, and the air is just right. It is called a fire rainbow, and tonight you're going to travel there, gently, slowly, without any rush, and see it for yourself. Take a slow breath in and let it go. A fire rainbow is not a rainbow in the way you might be thinking. It doesn't arc from hill to hill after a shower of rain. It doesn't fade in and out as the clouds shift. A fire rainbow is something much more still, much more quiet. It floats. It rests inside a single cloud, as if someone pressed a whole sunset into a pillow of white and let it hang in the sky. The real name, the scientific name, is a circumhorizontal arc, but that is a big, busy phrase for something so peaceful. So many people simply call it a fire rainbow, and somehow that feels just right. It is a fire in the gentlest sense, warm, glowing, still. Fire rainbows can only happen when the sun is sitting quite high in the sky, higher than 58 degrees above the horizon. That means they are most often seen in summer, when the sun climbs its tallest and the days feel longest and the air smells like warm grass and open fields. They appear inside a very specific kind of cloud, not the low gray clouds that carry rain, not the tall dramatic clouds that build into towers. Fire rainbows live inside cirrus clouds, the highest, thinnest clouds there are, the ones that look like someone drew them with a fine white brush. Cirrus clouds float at least 6 kilometers above the ground, sometimes higher. At that altitude, the air is so cold that the clouds are not made of water droplets. They are made entirely of ice, tiny, perfect, 6-sided ice crystals, each one smaller than a grain of sand. And it is those crystals, those impossibly small, impossibly delicate pieces of ice, that make the fire rainbow happen. When sunlight enters one of these crystals through its flat top face, it bends. Light always bends a little when it moves from one material into another. This is called refraction. And as the light travels through the ice crystal and exits through one of its side faces, it bends again. This double bending splits the light into all its colors, the same way a glass prism does on a sunny windowsill. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Each color bends by a slightly different amount, so they all spread out and separate. By the time the light reaches your eyes, it has become a whole band of color stretched gently across the underside of the cloud, as wide and as warm as a whispered lullaby. Most people never see a fire rainbow in their lives, not because they are rare, exactly, but because you have to be in the right place at the right time, looking up. Many beautiful things in this world require only that. just the willingness to look up. You might be walking to the shop, or sitting in a garden, or gazing out a window on a slow summer afternoon. And there it will be, a cloud on fire, but gently, a cloud wearing a rainbow like a quiet shawl. The colors in a fire rainbow are often described as being purer than a regular rainbow, brighter, more saturated, like someone turned up the richness just a little. Red bleeds into orange. Orange softens into yellow. Yellow opens into green. Green drifts toward blue. Blue fades into violet at the edges, like the hem of something beautiful. And all of this happens in silence. No thunder, no wind, no fanfare. The cloud just glows. If you ever see one, your first instinct might be to point, to call someone over, to take a photograph. And that is lovely. But there is also something wonderful about just standing still for a moment, looking up, breathing in, and letting the sky be exactly what it is. A fire rainbow can last for hours. Unlike a regular rainbow that appears and disappears in minutes, a fire rainbow drifts with its cloud, holding its colors for as long as the sun stays at the right angle. Some have been spotted persisting for most of an afternoon. Imagine lying in the grass on a warm summer day, the earth solid beneath you, the sky enormous above, and somewhere up there, painted onto the underside of a cloud, like a secret gift, a band of pure color floats. Red and orange and yellow and green and blue and violet. Still, quiet. There. The word circumhorizontal comes from the Latin for around the horizon. Because if conditions were ever truly perfect, if the ice crystals were spread evenly across a vast, flat layer of cloud, a fire rainbow could, in theory, wrap itself all the way around the sky, following the curve of the horizon in a great, glowing circle of color, a ring of quiet fire circling the whole world. That almost never happens. But the fact that it could is enough to make you look at the horizon a little differently, to wonder what might be there, just at the edge of what you can see. If you're enjoying this slow journey through the sky, feel free to leave a little comment below. It means so much to know you're here. And if you'd like more stories like this one, the playlist is right there, waiting for you, full of quiet wonders. Fire rainbows are most commonly seen from certain parts of the world, places that lie between roughly 25 and 65 degrees of latitude, where summer suns climb high enough. The United States sees them fairly often, parts of Europe too. But near the equator, where the sun is always nearly overhead, the geometry doesn't quite work. And near the poles, where the sun stays low even in summer, fire rainbows almost never come. So they belong to the middle places, to the temperate zones, to the summers of ordinary life. They are a gift to people who are going about their days and happen to look up. Let your eyes close just for a moment if you like. Imagine that you are lying in a meadow. The grass is soft, the air is warm. Above you, the sky is a deep, clear blue, and somewhere in it, one long, thin, cirrus cloud catches the afternoon light and glows with all the colors you have ever loved. You are not going anywhere. You are just here, breathing, watching. You are still in the meadow. The grass is cool where the shade falls and warm where the sun has been resting on it. There is no hurry here. The cloud above you has not moved much. It drifts almost imperceptibly, like a thought that comes and goes without demanding anything. Breathe in slowly, let the air fill you, and breathe out again. The ice crystals inside a cirrus cloud are not all the same. They come in different shapes. Some are long and thin, like tiny pencils of ice. Some are flat and wide, like little hexagonal plates. Some are hollow in the middle, and each shape catches light differently, bends it differently, sends it in different directions. A fire rainbow needs a particular kind of crystal, the flat, plate-shaped ones. These are sometimes called plate crystals, and they float with their flat faces pointing downward, held horizontal by the friction of the air passing beneath them, the way a leaf settles face down when it falls slowly through still air. This horizontal orientation is the key to everything. It is what makes the light bend in exactly the right direction. If the crystals were tilted even a little, the colors would scatter and blur, and the fire rainbow would not appear. It requires stillness. It requires alignment. It requires everything to be, for a little while, just right. There is something comforting in that. Sometimes beauty requires stillness. Sometimes the most wonderful things in life only appear when everything settles down and points in the same direction, even if only for a few hours. Cirrus clouds get their name from the Latin word for a curl of hair. And indeed, if you have ever looked up and seen those wispy, feathery streaks across a blue sky, the ones that look like the sky is breathing out in long, soft strokes, those are cirrus clouds. Painters have loved them for centuries. Sky watchers lie on their backs to trace their shapes. They are among the gentlest things the atmosphere produces. The streakiness of cirrus clouds comes from something called fall streaks. The ice crystals, once formed, begin to drift slowly downward through the air. As they fall, they are carried sideways by the different wind speeds at different heights. The result is those long, trailing wisps, each one a slow rain of ice that almost never reaches the ground. By the time those falling crystals have descended far enough, the air around them is warmer and they evaporate. They simply become invisible, gone. Their whole journey from crystal to color to cloud to nothing is silent and slow and entirely without drama. The best conditions for a fire rainbow also tend to produce particularly beautiful skies in general. When the air is dry and clear, when the sun is bright, when a high-pressure system sits over the land and holds everything still. On days like these, the whole sky seems to have been polished. The blue is deeper. The clouds are crisper. The light has a quality that photographers call golden, though it is more than golden. It is something you feel more than see. If you are someone who pays attention to the sky, not in any scientific way, just someone who occasionally looks up and notices, then you are exactly the kind of person who might see a fire rainbow. It does not require any equipment, any special knowledge, any planning, only attention. On a summer afternoon, if the sky is clear and the sun is well above the horizon, and you happen to see a thin sheet of cirrus clouds, look at its lowest edge. Look at the underside of the cloud. Let your gaze soften and wait. Sometimes the colors are faint at first, a suggestion of warmth at the cloud's hem, a blush of something that might be orange, a hint of green. And then, as your eyes adjust, it deepens. The colors come forward. The cloud is no longer white. It is wearing all of its light on the outside, openly, quietly, without any need for your approval. A fire rainbow does not need you to see it. It would be there regardless. And somehow, that makes it more beautiful, not less. Like a flower that blooms in a field no one has ever walked through. Like a birdsong in a wood before the world is awake. You are here, though, and you are seeing it. And that is a kind of luck that is entirely ordinary. It is available to almost anyone on almost any clear summer day, and yet it feels like being chosen by something lovely. Let your breathing slow a little more. Feel the ground beneath you. The earth is warm and patient and solid, and it has been here long before clouds, long before ice crystals, long before eyes existed to see the colors they make. The earth holds you easily, without effort, without question. There is a particular quality to the silence of a summer afternoon. It is not an empty silence. It is full of the faint hum of insects, the occasional faraway call of a bird, the soft sound of a breeze moving through long grass. It is the sound of everything being alive and going about its life without any performance. Fire rainbows have no sound. Of course, they don't. They are made of light, and light, whatever else it is utterly silent. It travels from the sun across 93 million miles of emptiness and arrives here without making any noise at all. It bends through ice without a sound. It spreads into color without a word. And then it finds your eyes, and somehow, it makes you feel something. That feeling has no name, not a single word for it anyway. It is the feeling of witnessing something that did not need to be beautiful, but was anyway. Something that serves no obvious purpose, that helps no one, that solves no problem, and yet matters deeply. Perhaps the best things always matter, for no reason that can be explained. Perhaps that is what makes them the best things. There are people who study the sky the way others study old books, with patience, with wonder, with the sense that there is always more to find if you are willing to look slowly enough. They are called atmospheric optics enthusiasts, though most of them simply call themselves sky watchers. They know the names of halos and arcs and glories and coronas, phenomena that most people have seen but never had a word for. But even among sky watchers, a fire rainbow is a reason to pause, a reason to set down whatever tool they are holding and simply look. Let yourself become heavy now. Let your body sink a little further into whatever you are resting on. Your arms, your shoulders, your jaw. Let them soften. There is nothing to hold up. Everything can rest. A circumhorizontal arc, our fire rainbow, belongs to a large family of optical phenomena called halo phenomena. Halos are effects caused by ice crystals in the atmosphere bending and reflecting sunlight in precise ways. There are dozens of different kinds. Some appear as rings around the sun. Some appear as spots of light beside it. Some appear below it. And some, like the fire rainbow, appear in clouds far from the sun itself. The most common halo is a circle that appears around the sun, 22 degrees away from it to be exact. If you put your fist at arm's length and line its edge up with the sun, the inner edge of the 22-degree halo would appear just at the other side of your fist. It is caused by the same hexagonal ice crystals, just arranged differently. Many people have seen this halo and not known what to call it. Some think it is a sign of rain, and they are often right, because cirrus clouds frequently precede weather fronts. Others think it is simply a beautiful effect and leave it at that. Both are fine. Some things do not need to be explained to be appreciated. There is a kind of sun dog too, a parhelion, which appears as a bright spot of light to one or both sides of the sun, often with a bit of color in it, like a second sun that isn't quite committed to the role. Sun dogs are far more common than fire rainbows. In some parts of the world, on winter mornings when ice fog hangs close to the ground, sun dogs appear almost daily. Imagine driving through a cold countryside on a winter morning, the fields white with frost, the air absolutely still, and there, on either side of a pale sun, two soft, glowing lights, colored faintly at the edges, like the sun has brought companions, like the sky has its own way of filling in the empty space. Fire rainbows and sundogs are cousins, different results of the same ice crystal magic, just with the crystals holding themselves at different angles, letting the light travel through different faces. The geometry of all this is surprisingly precise. The angle between the sun and the fire rainbow is always the same. The fire rainbow sits exactly 46 degrees below the sun. Not 45, not 47, 46. The crystals see to it. Each tiny hexagonal plate refracts light at the same angle as every other, so the colors always land in the same place relative to the sun. This precision, this hidden geometry inside something that looks so free and floating and unplanned is one of the quiet wonders of the natural world. Beauty, it turns out, often has very precise rules underneath. Rules so reliable you could write them down in numbers. And yet the result feels nothing like numbers. It feels like grace. A rainbow after rain has a similar precision. It always forms at 42 degrees from the point opposite the sun, which is why you always have to have the sun behind you to see it. Stand with your shadow pointing away from you, and the rainbow is ahead. Nature is consistent in its wonders. It does not improvise, though it always seems like it does. The colors in a circumhorizontal arc are arranged differently from a conventional rainbow. In a regular rainbow, red is on the outer edge and violet is on the inside. In a fire rainbow, the order is the same, but the arc is oriented differently. It runs parallel to the horizon, and red appears at the top of the arc, closest to the sun. Violet runs along the bottom, red at the top, violet below, the cloud glowing like a stained glass window in a very old, very quiet church. If you have ever sat in a pew and watched colored light move slowly across stone floor, sunlight coming through glass, painting everything it touches with warmth, then you know a little of what a fire rainbow feels like. Unhurried, devotional almost, something that asks nothing of you except that you be present. The slow drift of light across a floor, the slow drift of color across a cloud. These are the same kind of moments that remind you that the world is mostly peaceful, mostly soft, mostly going about its own quiet business, and that you are invited to join. If you'd like to share what kind of sky brings you the most peace, drop it in the comments. I genuinely love reading them. And if tonight's story is helping you drift off, you might love some of the other evenings we've spent together in the playlist. There are forests and oceans and starry nights waiting there. The sky above the meadow has deepened. The blue is richer now, darker at the zenith where the sky is thickest, and the light has the most atmosphere to push through. The cirrus cloud with its fire rainbow sits lower, closer to the horizon, and the colors in it have shifted. The red is stronger now, the violet almost gone. The arc is narrowing slowly as the sun descends. All beautiful things in the sky are temporary. The fire rainbow will not last the evening. The sun will drop below 58 degrees, and as it does, the geometry will stop working, and the colors will fade gently, without any announcement, back into plain white cloud. But it was here. You saw it. And something that has been seen, truly seen, leaves a trace in you that the cloud itself cannot. The meadow around you is full of small, unhurried sounds. A grasshopper somewhere in the grass, the distant, lazy spiral of a hawk, a breath of wind that moves the long stems and then stops again, as if it thought better of rushing anywhere. Let your hands be still. Let your face relax. Let the evening come at its own pace. Fire rainbows have been seen and recorded throughout human history, though for most of that history, people did not know what caused them. They simply looked up and felt the way humans always feel when the sky does something extraordinary, a quiet mixture of awe and smallness and gratitude. The ancient Chinese described unusual halo phenomena in their texts, going back thousands of years. They observed circles and arcs around the sun and moon and wrote about them with careful attention, as though the sky were a text to be read. They were right, in a way. The sky is always writing something, if you are slow enough to read it. In medieval Europe, unusual atmospheric lights were sometimes interpreted as omens, signs of things to come. A halo around the moon might mean rain. A pair of sundogs might mean something was shifting in the world. We know now that these things mean nothing of the sort, but there is something touching about how seriously people took the sky, how much they watched it, how much it mattered to them. There is a particular kind of attention that comes from needing the sky, needing to read it for weather, for navigation, for planting. When your life depends on whether rain is coming, you develop a relationship with clouds that most of us have lost. An intimacy, a fluency. Sailors knew the sky the way musicians know sound, by feel, by instinct, by years of close listening. They had phrases: red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky in morning, sailors take warning. This is actually grounded in real atmospheric science. A red sky at sunset means the light is passing through dry, dusty air to the west, often a sign of stable weather coming. A red sky at dawn means that same dry air has already passed, and moisture may be moving in. These are not superstitions. They are observations so reliable they became proverbs. The sky teaching its watchers patiently over centuries. And cirrus clouds, the home of fire rainbows, do often arrive before a change in weather. They form at the leading edge of weather fronts, high up, far ahead of any rain. A sky full of cirrus might mean that in a day or two, the weather will change. But not yet. Not now. For now, there is only the high, thin cloud and the quiet colors inside it. Let yourself feel the very particular peace of knowing that rain is still far away, that tonight the sky is open and the air is warm, that there is nothing to do and nowhere to be, and the cirrus cloud is burning softly above the horizon. The colors inside a fire rainbow do not look like paint, they look like light, which is what they are after all. There is a translucency to them, a depth, as if the color goes all the way through the cloud and out the other side. as if you could walk into the color and be surrounded by it. Photographers who manage to capture fire rainbows often describe the challenge of getting the camera to believe what the eye is seeing. The dynamic range, the difference between the bright white of the cloud and the vivid colors within it, can be difficult for a camera to hold in a single image. The eye manages it effortlessly. The eye has been solving problems like this for a very long time. Your eyes are remarkable instruments. Right now, even resting, even half closed, they are doing things that no camera has fully replicated. They are adjusting to the light, balancing colors, feeding information to a brain that processes it all instantly and effortlessly and presents you with a world, whole, continuous, colored. And in all the world tonight, right now, some of those eyes will be looking up and finding a fire rainbow without having expected it. A child in a garden who calls out and points. A farmer pausing in a field. Someone at a window with a cup of something warm, just looking at the sky and being surprised by it, as if the sky wanted to offer something. Most people, when they see something beautiful in the sky, feel compelled to share it. There is something instinctive about wanting to say, "Look, come and see." This is happening right now, and it will not last, and it is wonderful. There is a whole community of people who photograph and document atmospheric optical phenomena. They share their images with joy, not competitively, but generously, with the eagerness of people who know they have seen something not everyone gets to see. They caption their photographs carefully, explain the geometry, but also simply say, "Look, isn't it something? It is something." Breathe out slowly. Feel the warmth of the day still held in the air around you. Even as the sun descends, the earth releases its warmth slowly, like a stone that has been in the sun all day and is now giving its heat back to the evening. The air around you holds the memory of the afternoon. Fire rainbows are a daytime phenomenon. They need the sun, and they need it high. But there are related effects that can happen with moonlight. Much fainter, often only visible to cameras with long exposures, but real. Lunar halos, faint and white, circling the moon on cold winter nights. Moonlight is just reflected sunlight after all. It has all the same colors. But it is so much dimmer that human eyes cannot always see the colors spread out into a halo. The rods and cones in your eyes need a certain amount of light before they can reliably detect color. Moonlight, usually, is just below that threshold. But the physics is the same. The ice crystals bend the moonlight by the same angles. A lunar fire rainbow, if you could see it, would look just like the daytime one. But silver, faint, washed in cold light, floating above a sleeping world. Imagine that. A world asleep under a sky that is still busy with light and color, too subtle for waking eyes, too beautiful to not be happening. The clouds glowing faintly with moonlit color, seen only by cameras left out in the cold, by owls perhaps, by whatever quiet attention the night itself pays to its own beauty. You have been breathing slowly for a while now. Your body knows how to rest. It does not need to be told. It settles into it the way water settles into a still pool, easily, naturally, finding its own level. Let your thoughts slow down a little. They do not need to go anywhere. Let them drift the way cirrus clouds drift, high up, unhurried, belonging to no particular destination. There is a place in the sky between the highest clouds and the darkness of space. It has no name, really. It is just the upper atmosphere, thin and cold and still. A place where the air has so little density that sound would barely travel if anyone were there to make it. This is where the ice crystals float. This is where fire rainbows are born. Nothing lives at 6 kilometers above the earth, except occasionally the very highest flying birds. Bar-headed geese, compact, determined birds that migrate over the Himalayas, have been recorded flying at altitudes that would put them close to cirrus clouds. They breathe the thin air there with lungs adapted to the purpose, their hearts working steadily, their wings moving with a rhythm born of 10,000 generations of migration. Imagine one of those geese, head down into the thin, cold wind, crossing above a pass in the mountains, and somewhere below it, impossibly far below, a fire rainbow glowing on the underside of a cloud that the goose itself might be flying through without noticing. The goose is too close to see the arc. You have to be far away to see it. Many beautiful things require distance. You cannot see a mountain range from inside the mountain. You cannot hear the music of a waterfall when you are standing directly under it. Only the roar. Distance gives you the whole picture. There is a kind of wisdom in knowing when to step back, in not trying to be inside the thing, in allowing yourself to be an observer at the right distance, with the right angle, at the right time, and simply receiving what is being offered. Fire rainbows are never directly overhead. They are always out there at the edge of the sky, hanging low, close to the horizon in their horizontal band. You look outward to see them, not straight up. They are a phenomenon of the periphery, of the edges of your vision, of the parts of the sky you might easily ignore if you were always looking straight ahead. Maybe that is something worth remembering when the day is busy and your attention is being pulled 100 ways. Sometimes the most beautiful thing is happening just at the edge of where you are looking. The sun, as it relates to a fire rainbow, is always behind you, or at least above you, never in the direction you are looking. This is because you need to see the light that has passed through the ice and bent toward you. The sun is the source, but the show happens elsewhere, in a different part of the sky. The sun performs its work in silence and lets the clouds take the credit. This is the nature of refraction. Light bends and goes somewhere you wouldn't have expected. It does not continue in a straight line. It gives itself a new direction, takes a new path, arrives somewhere surprising. Light is patient about this. It does not choose the path chooses it, based on the materials it encounters. Glass, water, ice. Each one redirects it by a precise, predictable amount. And yet, the outcome always seems like a surprise. In a way, all the colors you have ever seen are the result of light being redirected. A red apple looks red because the apple's surface absorbs blue and green and reflects red back at you. A blue sky is blue because the atmosphere scatters shorter wavelengths, the blues, more than the longer ones, spreading them evenly in every direction. The sky is not blue because it contains blue things. It is blue because the air itself is a kind of filter, a kind of lens, a kind of quiet magic that has been doing its work since long before anyone was here to notice it. The sky has always been doing its work. Sun rises, light scatters, clouds form, ice crystals float, colors appear. All of it, every morning, every afternoon, every evening, whether anyone is watching or not. But it is better somehow when someone is watching, when you are watching. Leave a comment if you've ever looked up and seen something in the sky that stopped you in your tracks. A halo, a sundog, a perfect rainbow, something you couldn't name. Those little moments are worth sharing. The meadow is quieter now. The grasshopper has found somewhere to rest. The hawk is gone. The light is thickening toward evening. The blue warming to something deeper, almost purple at the zenith. And the cirrus cloud on the western horizon holds its fire rainbow still. Fainter now, the colors softening as the sun descends. Red is the last color to go. Red bends the least of all the colors, which means it travels the closest to a straight line, which means it survives the fading of the arc the longest. Long after the violet has vanished and the blue and green have gone, red lingers, a faint blush at the cloud's edge, a warmth where the color used to be, a ghost of the rainbow, gentle and almost gone. And then it is gone. The cloud is white again, ordinary, drifting, beautiful in its own plain way, but no longer on fire. And the sky darkens, and the stars begin to think about appearing. Night is coming, not fast, never fast in summer. The sky goes through its whole collection of blues first, from cobalt to indigo to something almost violet, before it lets the stars through. It takes its time. It always takes its time. And you have time. There is no hurry. Sink a little deeper into rest. Stars have their own optical magic. When the air near the horizon is thick and turbulent, stars near the horizon twinkle, not because the stars themselves are flickering, but because the light they send has to pass through more atmosphere at a low angle. And the atmosphere bends and shimmers and redirects the light continuously, making it seem to flash. Stars near the zenith, directly overhead, twinkle much less. Up there, you are looking through the atmosphere almost straight on, through its thinnest cross-section. Less atmosphere to disturb the light. A steadier star. Planets, interestingly, almost never twinkle. Not because they are different from stars in any fundamental optical way, but because they are so much closer to us that they appear as tiny disks, not just points. The flickering of different parts of the disk averages out, producing a steady, constant glow. If you see a bright light in the night sky that is perfectly steady and does not twinkle, it is almost certainly a planet. Venus in the evening sky, Jupiter in the south, Mars with its distinctive reddish warmth. They hang in the sky with a patience that is almost regal. While everything around them flickers and twinkles, they are still. The same ice crystals that make fire rainbows by day can create halos around the moon and around bright planets at night. Jupiter, on a very clear night with thin cirrus above, can sometimes wear a faint halo, a ring of pale light, 22 degrees out, as precise as it always is, and almost never noticed. The sky is doing all this all the time, night and day, in every season, in every corner of the world. The ice crystals float and rotate and bend the light. The light goes where the crystals send it. The geometry plays itself out perfectly without an audience. But there is something about knowing this that makes the night feel softer. The sky is not blank and empty. It is full of invisible activity, full of physics so precise it might as well be music. The harmony is always playing. You're just not always in the room. Let your breathing be very slow now. There is nothing to figure out. nothing to decide, just the sound of your own breath and the idea of a sky full of quiet, invisible light. Cirrus clouds, when the moon is bright enough, cast a kind of diffuse, faint shadow. Not a sharp shadow like a building or a tree would cast. Cirrus is too thin for that, but a softening of moonlight beneath it, a gauzing of the night, as if someone had breathed on the moonlight and made it hazy. This hazy effect around the moon is called a corona, not the same word as a solar corona, though they share a root. A lunar corona is a diffraction effect, not a refraction one. The ice crystals, or sometimes water droplets, in the cloud cause the light to spread and interfere with itself, producing a small colored ring close around the moon, quite different from the large 22-degree halo. A corona is typically blue-white at the center, near the moon, fading to red or orange at its outer edge. It is usually less than 10 degrees across. You can cover it with your fist at arm's length. It sits close, intimate, like the moon is wearing a small, glowing collar. These are the small wonders of clouds. Each cloud type produces its own signature of light effects. Stratus gives you gray, flat light and nothing else. Cumulus gives you nothing unless it is very thick. But cirrus, thin, icy, high, gives you halos and arcs and coronas and fire rainbows. Cirrus is the most optically generous of clouds, perhaps because it is made entirely of ice, and ice remembers all the shapes. Each crystal is a precise six-sided structure, built molecule by molecule in temperatures below -30 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, water molecules link together in a particular way. The bonds prefer a 60-degree angle. So, the resulting structure always has six sides. Always. Without exception. You could hold 1 trillion ice crystals in your hand and every single one would have six sides. Not 5. Not 7. 6. The number is in the chemistry itself, in the angles of the bonds between hydrogen and oxygen, in something so deep in the nature of water that it is true everywhere in the universe where water exists and gets cold enough. This is one of the quiet certainties of the physical world. Snowflakes are unique in their patterns, but never in their basic geometry. 6, always. Everywhere, always. There is something very comforting about this. In a world that feels complicated and changeable and uncertain, the ice crystals above you have been six-sided for as long as water has been cold enough to freeze. Long before humans, long before most life, long before the mountains beneath you were mountains, the six-sided crystal, the 46-degree arc, the red above and violet below. These have been true for hundreds of millions of years, and they will be true long after tonight. You are resting inside a world of very old certainties. Nothing about the physics of light and ice requires anything of you. It will continue exactly as it always has. You can close your eyes. The night is fully here now, not dark, not yet. But the stars are beginning to show themselves, the boldest ones first, then more as your eyes adjust. There is no rush to see all of them. They will be there. They are always there, even by day, hidden in the brightness. Let your body be completely still. Let your mind follow. The idea that the stars are visible by day, that they are always there, just outcompeted by the scattered sunlight of our own sky, is one of those facts that changes how you see the world once you hear it. The stars do not disappear when the sun rises. They are still there, going about their business, shining as they always shine. It is only our atmosphere that hides them, filling the sky with scattered blue light, bright enough to drown them out. From the surface of the moon, which has no atmosphere, the stars are visible all the time, even when the sun is up. Astronauts in the early lunar missions, standing on the gray surface in their suits, could look up and see both the sun, terrifyingly bright, unfiltered, and the stars around it, equally visible. A sky full of day and night at once. Our blue sky is a gift of our atmosphere, and our atmosphere's gift comes with a trade. It hides the universe. It wraps us in a comfortable haze of light that makes the stars seem like something that only happens after dark. But they are always there. Fire rainbows, too, happen in that same atmosphere that hides the stars. The same gases that scatter blue light by day are the context in which the cirrus clouds float and the ice crystals refract. The atmosphere is all one system, from the thin air at the top where ice crystals form, all the way down to the warm, thick air near the ground where you breathe and sleep and dream. You are at the bottom of an ocean of air, not a metaphor. It is what the atmosphere is, an ocean with pressure and density and currents. The air at sea level is dense and rich with molecules. As you go higher, it thins. At the altitude of cirrus clouds, it is very thin indeed. Higher still, it becomes so thin it is barely there. And then there is space, not empty, but emptier than anything we normally encounter. The vacuum that isn't quite a vacuum. Our ocean of air is what makes our planet alive. It holds the warmth. It carries the water. It scatters the light into blue. It hosts the clouds. It is the medium through which all our weather, all our color, all our sky happens. Without the atmosphere, there would be no fire rainbows, no halos, no blue sky, no sunsets, no breath. The atmosphere is, among other things, the reason everything beautiful above us is possible. Breathe it in slowly now. Feel it fill your lungs. Feel it leave again. The same air has been cycling through this atmosphere for billions of years, breathed by ancient creatures, evaporated from ancient oceans, held in ancient ice, released again. The air you are breathing right now has been everywhere. It has been part of the atmosphere of storms and calms, of ice ages and warm periods, of days no one remembers. And now it is here with you, quiet this evening. There is a gentleness to this thought, that you are made of the same things as everything else, that the oxygen in your blood was once in the sea, was once in a leaf, was once in the atmosphere above a cirrus cloud where a fire rainbow was quietly forming. 46 degrees from a sun no one was watching. We are not separate from the system. We are the system looking at itself. Fire rainbows are one of the most colorful of all atmospheric optical phenomena. The colors are often described as being more vivid than those of a regular rainbow, purer somehow, as if the light has been processed through a more precise instrument. The ice crystals are more geometrically consistent than raindrops. Raindrops are roughly spherical, but wobble and flatten as they fall. Ice crystals hold their shapes. They are more like lenses than like marbles. And a precise lens, a consistent lens, does a better job of separating the colors. The prism in a physics classroom separates light beautifully because it is perfect glass, cut to perfect angles. The ice crystal does a similar thing, imperfectly, but with a great many partners, millions of crystals all bending the same color by the same amount, their individual imperfections averaging out it into something that the eye reads as pure and vivid. This is another way in which working together produces something more beautiful than any individual could manage alone. Don't forget, if you found a quiet corner to curl up in and this story is carrying you toward sleep, I'd love to know. Leave a small comment when you wake up. And the playlist is there whenever you want another evening like this one. The stars are fully out now in the story, though of course the fire rainbow is gone with the daylight. The two phenomena belong to different times of day, different registers of the sky's language. The fire rainbow speaks in vivid color, the stars speak in pure, steady light. Both are saying something similar, if you listen, something about the size of the universe, something about how much is always happening, always, in every direction, in every layer of the world, and how little of it requires your attention or your anxiety or your plans. The stars do not need anything from you tonight. The ice crystals that made the fire rainbow have dispersed now, settled, evaporated, become invisible. The cloud itself may still be there, a thin white smear against the darkening sky. But it is private now, its colors gone, its secret over for the day. Tomorrow, somewhere in the world, another cloud will hold another fire rainbow. Another person will look up and feel that particular stillness. Another moment will happen that cannot be kept but can be carried. Something about the feeling of lying still for a long time, really still, the way you do when you're almost asleep, is similar to the feeling of floating. Your body becomes less certain of its edges. You're less aware of where you end and where the air begins. And in that in-between, the mind does something wonderful. It lets go. Let that happen now. Let the edges soften. Let yourself float a little. Fire rainbows are not the only phenomenon that requires the sun to be at a precise angle. The geometry of light in our atmosphere is full of angle-dependent effects, phenomena that only appear when the sun or moon is exactly right. Green flashes, for example. These are tiny, brief flashes of green that sometimes appear at the very top of the sun's disk at the moment of sunset, or at the very bottom at sunrise. They last for only a second or two, sometimes less. They are caused by the atmosphere refracting different colors of sunlight by different amounts, so that the colors appear to separate slightly at the horizon. Green is one of the last colors visible as the sun dips, just briefly, just barely, just enough. Sailors who spent their lives watching horizons knew about green flashes. They were rare enough to be remarked upon, common enough to be described. There are old writings that call them good luck, a sign that the sea would be calm. Whether or not that is true, the moment of seeing one is its own reward. That gasp of green, impossibly vivid, impossibly brief, at the very edge of the day. There is a pleasure in threshold moments. Sunrise and sunset are the most obvious. The times of day when the light is richest, when the atmosphere performs its most elaborate shows, when the world seems to be making a special effort. But there are subtler thresholds too. The moment when a thunderstorm has just passed and the air smells clean and sharp. The moment just before snow, when the sky goes a particular kind of yellow-gray and everything is very still. The moment in autumn when the angle of the sun drops enough that the light turns golden even at midday. These are thresholds of angle and air and moisture. They are precisely caused, and they feel like magic. Light bends at thresholds, at the boundary between air and glass, at the boundary between warm air and cold, at the boundary between day and night. Bending, splitting, refracting. The world is full of invisible lenses. Some of the most beautiful photography ever taken is of these boundary moments. The second of sunset, the rim of a cloud lit from below, the edge of a shadow where it meets sunlight on a field of grass. The camera is hunting for the edge, the threshold, the place where one thing becomes another. This is perhaps one of the things that fire rainbows teach us, that the edge of things, the boundary between sunlight and cloud, between ice and air, between one color and the next, is where the beauty concentrates. The middle of things is often fine, ordinary, comfortable. But the edge is where light does something interesting. And you, right now, are at an edge of sorts, between waking and sleeping, between the day that has been and the night that is coming. This is its own threshold, and it is a beautiful one. Let yourself drift closer to the sleeping side. There is nothing on the waking side that requires your attention tonight. You have done enough. You have looked up and seen the sky. You have breathed slowly. You have been here. There are places in the world that are particularly famous for fire rainbow sightings. The American Midwest, especially in summer, with its frequent high-altitude cirrus and long summer days. The Pacific Northwest of the United States. Parts of Central Europe. The UK sees them occasionally. Australia, Japan, the southern cone of South America. But fire rainbows have no national boundaries. They happen wherever the geometry is right, wherever the sun is high enough, the ice crystals are present, and someone is looking. They are one of the few natural phenomena that the whole world shares. In countries closer to the equator, the sun is always high enough, but fire rainbows still require cirrus clouds, and cirrus clouds in tropical regions can be less predictable. In very humid tropical air, the high-altitude clouds often consist of different crystal types or form at different altitudes, and the conditions for fire rainbows may not be quite right. But near the edge of the tropics, in subtropical regions where dry, stable, high-pressure air is common, fire rainbows can be particularly vivid. Clear blue skies, bright sun, and the occasional high cirrus are a perfect combination. There are entire days that seem made for this kind of beauty. Days where the air is dry and clear, the sun is a hard white disk in a deep blue sky, and somewhere on the horizon, a faint cirrus cloud catches the light. These are the days that seem to polish the world. Everything has edges, everything is vivid. Even a plain green field looks extraordinary in this kind of light. These are also the days that are hardest to spend indoors. Some instinct pulls you outside, into the light, into the air. The body knows a good day when it is given one. It wants to be out in it. And on those days, the sky offers its rewards generously. Not just fire rainbows, but all the smaller things too. The precise blue of shadow, the way light falls on the underside of leaves, the glitter of a cobweb in the morning, the long, still shadows of early evening. A day full of light is a day full of small, beautiful things, if you're paying the right kind of attention. Your breathing is slower now. I can imagine it, slow and even, your chest rising and falling without effort. This is the pace the body settles into when it feels safe, when there is nothing to prepare for, when tonight is simply tonight. Stay here for a while longer. There is more sky to drift through. Light behaves differently in different atmospheres. Scientists studying other planets in our solar system can infer things about their atmospheres by studying how light from the sun behaves there, how it scatters, how it refracts, what colors reach the surface. Mars has a thin atmosphere, mostly carbon dioxide, with fine dust particles suspended in it. This dust scatters light differently from Earth's nitrogen and oxygen atmosphere. On Mars, the sky near the sun appears pinkish or even salmon-colored during the day because the dust preferentially scatters red light in that direction. At sunrise and sunset, the sky near the horizon turns a remarkable blue, exactly the reverse of Earth's sunsets, where the sky near the sun reddens as it sets. If you could stand on Mars in a suit protected from the thin, cold air and look west at sunset, you would see the sun setting in a sky that faded from pink overhead to pale blue at the horizon, with the sun itself surrounded by a gentle blue glow. It would be utterly alien and utterly beautiful. Venus, in contrast, has an impossibly thick atmosphere, mostly carbon dioxide under enormous pressure. Its sky is a uniform, sickly yellow from the clouds of sulfuric acid. The light that reaches the surface is diffuse, like a very bright overcast day, without shadows, without drama. No sunsets visible from the surface, no fire rainbows, no stars. Just an eternal, heavy, hot, yellowish brightness. We are lucky to live on the planet with the interesting sky. Jupiter has weather that makes anything on Earth look small. Its great red spot is a storm larger than Earth itself, spinning with winds of hundreds of kilometers per hour. Its cloud bands, those famous stripes of amber and cream and rust, are jet streams of different gas compositions, moving at different speeds. The tops of its clouds are cold enough for water ice. Lower down, the clouds are made of ammonia crystals and ammonium hydrosulfide. Lower still, perhaps water. If ice crystals can make halos in our sky, what might ammonia crystals make in Jupiter's? The geometry would be the same. Crystals with their particular shapes, light refracting through them. But the crystals would be a different material with different optical properties. The halos, if they exist, would be of different sizes, different brightnesses. A Jovian fire rainbow in some Jovian cloud, in a color scheme no human eye has ever seen. There is something wonderful about not knowing, about the universe containing possibilities that haven't been observed yet. The sky above Jupiter is almost certainly doing extraordinary things, and no one has ever stood beneath it to look. From the surface of Titan, Saturn's largest moon, the only moon in our solar system with a thick atmosphere, the sky is orange, a permanent, diffuse, hazy orange from the complex organic molecules in the air. The sun from Titan appears only as a slightly brighter patch in the orange haze. No disk visible, no rays, no sunsets in the ordinary sense. Just an orange world under an orange sky, with methane raining down and methane lakes sitting calm and dark on the surface. But here on Earth, here in the meadow, with the warm ground beneath you, with the real stars beginning to multiply overhead, with the night insects beginning their gentle conversation, here the sky is familiar and kind. Here The atmosphere is thin enough to be transparent to most light, but thick enough to scatter the colors. Here, the ice crystals float in the cirrus and make their precise arcs. Here, you can breathe. And here, tonight, you are doing exactly that. Take one more slow breath. Hold it gently for a moment and let it go. The Milky Way is beginning to appear, or at least you can imagine it faintly, the band of light that is the edge-on view of our own galaxy. Billions of stars too far and too numerous to see individually. Their combined light, a soft, faint smear across the darker part of the sky. The part of the sky away from the moon, away from any city light. In places with truly dark skies, far from towns, high in mountains or deep in deserts, the Milky Way is not faint at all. It is vivid and structured, with dark lanes of dust running through it, with brighter regions where more stars cluster. You can see it well enough to read by it. Not quite, but nearly. It casts a shadow, they say. The Milky Way, on a dark night, casts a shadow. This is the same sky that holds fire rainbows by day, the same atmosphere, the same planet, just the other side of the spin. You have been here for a while now. Your body has settled. Your mind is quieter than when we started. This is how rest works, slowly, gently, without being forced. Let the story carry you a little further. There are people who drive many hours into dark countryside to see the Milky Way properly, who lie on car bonnets in fields, or climb to mountain meadows, or travel to deserts. They bring no phones, or keep them face down, and they wait for their eyes to adjust, and adjust, and adjust. Eyes are remarkable in the dark. It takes about 30 minutes for your eyes to become fully dark adapted, for your pupils to fully dilate, and for the rods in your retina to become maximally sensitive. During those 30 minutes, the sky seems to fill up as if more stars are being switched on, one by one. First, the bright ones, then the medium ones. Then, if the sky is dark enough, the faint ones, the clusters, the smudges, the galaxies. The process is called dark adaptation, and it is easily ruined by a single bright light. A phone screen, a car's headlights, even a bright torch. The eye resets. You lose your adaptation and have to start over. This is why astronomers use red lights in their observatories. Red light does not affect dark adaptation the way other colors do. You can read a star chart by red light and keep your night vision intact. Red light. Again, the long wavelength end of the spectrum, the gentlest bender, the last color to fade from a fire rainbow, and the light that does not cost you the night. Red is in many ways the kindest color. It is warm, the color of fire and sunset and evening, the color of the light that tells your body the day is ending. Exposure to red light in the evening is less disruptive to sleep than blue light, which is why the glow of screens with their cool blue-white light can make it harder to rest. The body reads blue light as morning, as a signal to be alert. Red light is evening. Red light is permission. The sky knows this. At sunset, when the sun is low and the light passes through more atmosphere, the shorter blue wavelengths scatter away and the longer reds and oranges remain. The sky turns its own clock down. It shifts into warm light. It tells you, without words, in the only language light has, the day is done. You can slow down now, and you are slowing down. I can feel it in the pace of this story, in a way the words are drifting rather than moving. This is the pace of late evening, of the time when nothing needs to happen. Fire rainbows once seen have a way of being remembered very clearly, not in the way that dramatic events are remembered, not with urgency or detail, but with a kind of warm clarity. The image settles in gently and stays. Years later, a person might look at a similar sky and feel something, a soft expectation, a looking up, without quite remembering why. Memory works like this sometimes. It keeps the feeling more reliably than the facts. You might forget the date, the place, the other people who were there, but you remember the quality of the light, the way the cloud glowed, the surprising vividness of the green in the middle of the arc. These sensory memories are among the most persistent we have. The smell of a particular flower in childhood, the feel of a particular fabric, the exact shade of a particular sky. They come back without warning, without context, and for a moment you are entirely back in that moment, standing in a field, looking up, feeling small and lucky, small and lucky. This is a very comfortable way to feel. The universe is enormous. The numbers are genuinely incomprehensible, the distances, the ages, the quantities of everything. But rather than making us feel unimportant, this enormousness can feel like a kind of gift, a gift of scale, of context. In a universe so vast, what is a bad day? What is a worry that seemed large this morning? From high enough, even a storm cloud is just a small disturbance in a very large sky. The ice crystals at 6 kilometers up do not know there are people below them. The fire rainbow forms, without knowing it, is beautiful. The geometry plays out exactly as it always has, and a person looks up and feels something that has no name. This is enough. This has always been enough. Before you drift much further, do take a moment to check out the playlist if you haven't already. There are evenings spent under stars beside oceans, in quiet forests, all at this same slow pace. And if you'd like to tell me your favorite place to watch the sky, the comments are a lovely place to do that. The night air is cooler now. Even in the story, you can feel it. The faint shift from the warmth of afternoon to the softness of night. The dew point is approaching. The grass around you is beginning to hold a faint dampness. By morning, the meadow will be silver with dew, every blade holding a small, rounded world of reflected sky. A dewdrop, if the sun hits it right in the morning, can refract sunlight, just as a raindrop does, into a tiny spectrum, a microscopic rainbow. If the meadow is covered in millions of dewdrops, and you are standing at the right angle, you might see a rainbow in the grass itself. A grassy rainbow, small and low and entirely unassuming. These small rainbows, seen in grass, in a garden sprinkler, in the spray of a waterfall, are made by the same physics as the great rainbow after a storm. Light entering a sphere of water, bouncing inside it, exiting at an angle that separates the colors. The sphere can be meters of falling rain, or one small, perfect dewdrop. The same wonder at every scale. Everything is very quiet now. The kind of quiet that comes after the birds have finished their evening song, before the night insects have fully started. A pause in the day's sound, a held breath. Let yourself be held by it. Ice has a quality that most solids don't. It is less dense than its liquid form. Ice floats on water. This seems obvious. Of course, ice floats. That is what ice does. But it is actually deeply strange. Almost all substances are denser as solids than as liquids. They pack more tightly when cold. Water bizarrely expands when it freezes, the molecular structure of ice, that six-sided lattice, has more empty space in it than liquid water does. This property of ice has been perhaps the most consequential physical quirk in the history of life on Earth. Because ice floats, it forms on the surface of lakes and rivers, insulating the water below and keeping it liquid. If ice sank, lakes would freeze from the bottom up in winter all the way through, and aquatic life would be destroyed every cold season. Because ice floats, ponds remain alive through winter, their surfaces sealed under ice, their depths liquid and habitable. The same molecular structure that makes ice float is the one that makes the hexagonal crystals. The same geometry. The six-sided lattice creates a crystal that is less dense than its liquid form, which floats on ponds and keeps fish alive, and also forms precisely angled plate crystals that float on the upper atmosphere and make fire rainbows. It is all one thing, one beautiful, consistent, improbable molecule, arranged in one elegant geometry, doing multiple, seemingly unrelated things, keeping fish alive under winter ice and painting rainbows on clouds. Water is extraordinary. We are lucky to live on a planet so full of it. 71% of Earth's surface is water. The ocean is, in many ways, the planet. The land is the exception, the interruption, and the water cycle moves water continuously through the system, evaporating from the ocean, rising, cooling, condensing, falling as rain, running back to the sea, evaporating again, round and round, forever. The ice crystals in today's cirrus cloud were ocean water not so long ago. They evaporated from a warm sea surface, rose on updrafts, cooled, froze into crystals, formed a cloud, refracted sunlight into a fire rainbow for a few hours, and will soon be on their way back down to Earth as precipitation, perhaps as rain, perhaps incorporated into snow, perhaps back to the sea eventually. All water is on its way somewhere, always in transit. The water in your body has been in the ocean, in the clouds, in the ice of glaciers, in the rivers, in the soil. It has been in other living things, in trees and insects and fish and creatures that existed millions of years before your species did. Your body is mostly water. Your body is part of the water cycle. You are, in a real sense, part of the same system as the clouds above you, as the ice crystals that make fire rainbows, as the rain that falls and fills the rivers. This is not a metaphor. It is chemistry. And it is comforting somehow to know this, that you belong to the cycle, that your boundaries are less fixed than they seem, that the air you breathe out becomes in some small way part of the atmosphere, that the water in you will, one day, return to the ocean, or fall as rain, or rise again as a cloud. You are not separate from the world. You are one of its expressions. Let that thought settle very gently. Let it be light. Let it not require anything of you. Just, you are here, and you belong here, and the world has been arranging itself for a very long time in such a way that you would be here, breathing, resting, looking at the idea of a fire rainbow in a cloud. Let your eyes stay closed. The meadow is dark now. Not frightening, just dark, the way night is dark, softly, with the stars above and the earth below, and nothing in between except cool air and the sound of quiet. Some cultures have stories about colored lights in the sky, northern lights, fire rainbows, halos around the moon. These were interpreted in many ways across many centuries, as signals, as spirits, as the work of gods or of nature itself making art. Many of these interpretations were expressions of the same impulse: to honor what is beautiful, to give it a name, to hold it somehow in the human world. We have given these things different names now. We have equations for the angles. We have measured the wavelengths. We know what the crystals look like under an electron microscope, and we can still be moved by them. The explanation and the wonder can coexist. They always have. The scientist who calculated the precise geometry of a fire rainbow and the child who looked up and said, "Oh," are experiencing the same phenomenon. One has more words for it, but the feeling is not different in kind. The story is going deeper now, into the quietest part of the night. Your breathing has found its own rhythm. Your thoughts are slower, softer, less formed. This is good. This is where rest lives. Let the words become like the sound of a breeze, not needing to be followed, just there, steady, quiet. There are mountains in the world where you can climb above the clouds. Not above all clouds, not above the cirrus, but above the low gray cloud layers that sometimes cover whole valleys for days at a time. The residents of the valley live in gray, diffuse light. But if they drive up the mountain road, they emerge into brilliant sunshine above the cloud tops. Above the cloud, looking down, the cloud surface looks like a second world, an entire white landscape of rolling shapes, peaks and valleys of vapor, lit from above by a sun that the valley cannot see. From above, the clouds look solid. From below, they look like sky. This is perspective again. The clouds are neither solid nor merely sky. They are what they are, suspended water and ice in various formations, at various heights, doing various things with light. What they look like depends entirely on where you are standing. Fire rainbows can sometimes be seen from aeroplanes. If you are flying above cirrus cloud, looking down, the light refraction happens differently, and you cannot see a circumhorizontal arc. But if you are flying at the right altitude, below the cirrus or through its lower edge, and the conditions are right, you might see a flash of vivid color in the cloud beside you, or just below. Pilots and flight attendants, who spend more time at altitude than most of us, are among the more reliable witnesses of atmospheric optical phenomena. They have posted photographs of halos seen from cockpits, sundogs visible through flight deck windows, arcs and glories glimpsed while crossing mountain ranges or open oceans. There is one phenomenon that is almost exclusively seen from aircraft: the glory. A glory appears directly opposite the sun, in the shadow of the plane, on the clouds below. It is a circle of color, much smaller than a halo, sitting right around the shadow of the aircraft itself. If you are in a window seat on the right side of the plane and the sun is on the left and you are flying over clouds, look out. There may be a shadow of the plane below, and around its head, a tiny rainbow ring. The glory is caused by diffraction, not refraction. Light bending around the edges of tiny cloud droplets rather than through them. It is much more complex to explain than a halo, and it is much more intimate. It follows the plane. Wherever the shadow goes, the glory goes. It is always centered on your shadow. This makes it feel peculiarly personal, as if the sky is making this particular rainbow just for you. And in a practical sense, it is. A glory centered on an aircraft is only visible from that aircraft. Other planes at other angles see different glories, or none at all. It belongs to your exact viewpoint. All beautiful things seen in the sky belong, in this way, to your exact viewpoint. A rainbow, a fire rainbow, a halo, a glory. They all require a specific geometry between you, the light source, and the optical effect. Move to a different position and the effect changes or disappears. The beauty is real, but it is real from exactly where you are. You are necessary to the beauty you see, not in a grand or self-important way, just in the precise geometric sense that the thing appears as it does because of where you are. If you had been somewhere else, the sky would have looked different. Your position in the world matters, even if it is just for the rainbows. Let this be one of the last thoughts before you sleep. Your position in the world matters. You are somewhere specific at some specific moment, breathing specific air, and the beauty available to you is available precisely because you are here and not somewhere else. Tomorrow you might look up. Tomorrow the sky might be offering something, a halo, a sundog, a fire rainbow if the conditions are right, or just the particular quality of morning light on a familiar rooftop. Something you have the exact right viewpoint to see, but that is tomorrow. Tonight, you are here, right here. There is a sound that comes just before deep sleep. Not really a sound, more of a sensation. A soft closing of the world, as if the edges of things have agreed to stop being quite so defined, as if everything is exhaling. You are very close to it now. The word iridescent comes from the Latin for rainbow. It describes the way some surfaces shift color as you move or as the angle of the light changes. Oil on water, the inside of an abalone shell, the wing of a morpho butterfly, the throat of a hummingbird. Iridescence in nature is usually caused by structural color, not pigment, but the physical structure of the surface itself. Tiny ridges or layers that are spaced at distances close to the wavelength of light, so they interfere with each other, reinforcing some colors and canceling others. The resulting color depends on the angle of view. Turn the butterfly wing, and the blue becomes green, becomes teal, becomes almost black. The morpho butterfly of Central and South America is one of the most vivid examples. Its wings are a blue so intense it seems to glow from within, but there is no blue pigment in those wings. The color is structural, made entirely of geometry, of microscopic ridges stacked in precise layers, each layer reflecting a precise wavelength of light. Under an electron microscope, the wing looks like a tiny, beautiful architecture, a cathedral built at the scale of light itself. The fire rainbow is, in its way, also a kind of structural color, not a pigment, not a dye, just light and geometry, ice and angle, the precise arithmetic of refraction. The color exists because of how things are arranged. Change the arrangement, and the color is gone. Most colors in nature are this way, structural or pigmentary or a combination. The sky's blue is structural. The rainbow's bands are structural. The green of a leaf is pigment, chlorophyll, a molecule that absorbs red and blue and reflects green. The red of a poppy is pigment. The iridescence of a dragonfly's wing is structure. We live in a world full of color, produced by a handful of mechanisms. And all of them are beautiful. And all of them are, at some level, just light, doing what it always does in the presence of matter. There is something deeply restful in this unification. All color is light. All light is one thing, spread out. All the spread out colors are the same colors everywhere, every time. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, always in that order, always by the same mechanism, The universe is consistent. The laws are the same everywhere. The same refraction that makes a fire rainbow in our sky would, if the conditions were right, make the same arc in any other sky with the right crystals and the right sun. The physics is universal, and the beauty follows the physics. Wherever the conditions are right, the beauty appears, without being asked, without being designed, as a simple consequence of the way things are. You are living in a universe that generates beauty as a side effect of its basic operations. This is not nothing. This is, in fact, extraordinary. Let this be enough. Let the world be extraordinary, and let you be part of it, and let tonight be warm and quiet, and let your eyes be closed. The meadow has been here all along, beneath the story. The grass is damp with dew now. The stars are brilliant overhead. The cirrus cloud is gone, dissolved in the cooling night air, but the sky it left behind is clear and open and full of depth. Somewhere across the world, in a time zone where the sun is still well above the horizon, someone is right now looking at a fire rainbow for the first time. They have stopped walking. They are pointing. The person with them looks up, and for a moment, a long, still moment, neither of them speaks. They are just looking at the colors. Red at the top, violet below, the cloud glowing like something made from the inside. You know what they are feeling. You do not need to be there to know. The story is nearly done. Not because there is nothing left to say. The sky could keep us here for weeks, but because you are ready to sleep, and the story knows this, and it is slowing itself to match your breathing just a little more. Stay here just a little longer. There is a quality of stillness in the natural world that is different from the quiet of an empty room. The quiet of an empty room is an absence, but the stillness of a meadow at midnight, or a forest in the early morning, or a high mountain lake, this is a presence, a fullness, the stillness of things that are alive and being themselves without any noise. A stone on a riverbed is still. It has been still for centuries, for millennia. Water moves around it. Light moves through the water. Algae grows on the stone, slowly, seasonally. Small creatures move over and under and around it. And the stone itself is still, patient, present. The ice crystals in a cirrus cloud are, each one still. Falling slowly, yes, but each one oriented to the air around it. Each one doing the same thing it always does. Each one a patient, precise, hexagonal plate. No two snowflakes are identical, but every plate crystal in a cirrus cloud is doing the same thing as every other one. The individual is unique. The behavior is universal. We are perhaps like this, each person unlike any other, but doing, most of us, most of the time, the same things. Breathing, sleeping, watching the sky, feeling small and lucky, wanting to share something beautiful with someone. It is very late now in the story. The world has gone to sleep around you. Even the insects have quieted. The temperature has dropped enough to slow their metabolism, to still their chirping. The world is on the slow side of its rhythm. Your heartbeat is slower. Your breathing is slower. Your eyes, if they are open at all, are heavy. Let them close. The meadow is still there. The stars are still there. The dew is still forming on the grass, one crystal at a time. Not ice crystals, just water droplets, but still tiny, precise, forming in the night from the moisture in the air, settling on every available surface, catching starlight and reflecting it in tiny cold sparks. By morning, the meadow will be silver. The sun will rise and begin to evaporate the dew. The water will return to the air. Some of it will rise high enough to freeze. And perhaps, not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday, it will find itself at 6 kilometers up in a cold cloud, aligned horizontal, ready to be a fire rainbow for someone who happens to look up at the right moment. All things return, all water cycles, all light is refracted eventually. You will wake up tomorrow, and the sky will be there, as it always has been. You will breathe the morning air. You will have a day, your particular day, in your particular place. And if the conditions are right, if the sun is high and the cirrus is thin, and the ice crystals have aligned themselves just so, you might look up and see something. You might see the fire rainbow, and you will know what it is. And you will know that it has always been there, waiting for the right angle, the right moment, the right eyes. The right eyes are yours. Before you close completely, thank you for being here tonight, for letting the sky carry you. If this story helped you rest, a comment or a like means more than you know. And the playlist is full of more nights like this one, more skies, more quiet wonders whenever you need them. Good night, fire rainbow. Good night, ice crystals. Good night, sun. Somewhere on the other side of the world, doing your patient work, angle by angle, color by color. You're almost there. The place where the story and sleep become the same thing, where words lose their weight and become simply rhythm, simply sound, simply the gentle presence of something continuing. Let it continue. The last light of any day is something that painters and photographers have been chasing for centuries. They call it the golden hour, though it is not always an hour, sometimes only minutes. The time when the sun is just above the horizon and the light is warm and raking and long. It is called golden, but it contains all the colors. The shadows are deep blue. The highlights are amber. The midtones are something in between, warm and rich and briefly, perfectly right. Fire rainbows happen before the golden hour. In the high sun of afternoon, when the light is still vertical enough to send it through the horizontal crystal faces and bend it into color. But the golden hour is their farewell. As the sun descends toward gold, the fire rainbow fades. One ends as the other begins. The sky shuffles its gifts. In the golden light, the world is made of warmth. Every surface that faces the sun is touched with that low, amber light. Trees cast long shadows. Hills have texture they didn't have at noon. A plain field becomes a painting. An ordinary house becomes something you would stop to photograph. This is the light that comes through windows in late afternoon and turns everything inside gold. The dust in the air becomes visible, tiny particles drifting in a long rectangle of amber light. Each particle a small world, each one catching the light for a moment and then drifting out of the beam, gone. In that beam of afternoon light, if you watch it long enough, you can see the air itself. See that it is not empty at all, but full of tiny things drifting and spiraling in slow currents, each one part of the world, each one catching the light and releasing it, each one briefly visible and then not. The world is full, the air is full. Even the emptiest seeming spaces are full of movement and light and tiny life. There is no emptiness in the world, really. Just things too small or too transparent or too patient to notice without the right conditions. A beam of golden light makes the air visible. A cirrus cloud makes the ice crystals visible, not directly, but by their effects on light. A fire rainbow is the ice crystals making themselves known, saying, "We are here, we are aligned, we are doing our precise and ancient work. Look." And you looked. Tonight, you looked. You traveled up 6 kilometers above the earth to the cold and still place where the crystals float. You felt the geometry of the arc, felt the colors separate, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, spreading across the underside of the cloud, silent and vivid and unhurried. You lay in the meadow and watched it. You breathed slowly. You let the sky be large and the world be old and the light be exactly what light always is, patient, bending, generous with its colors. You did not need to understand it to feel it. You did not need to know the angle or the crystal shape or the name of the phenomenon to feel that particular stillness that comes from looking at something beautiful. The beautiful thing is, you are still here, in the meadow or in your bed, or wherever rest has found you tonight. The story ends, but you go on, into sleep, into the particular peace that follows a long, quiet evening. The ice crystals are still floating up there. The cirrus clouds drift on. Tomorrow, somewhere, another fire rainbow will form. For the first time, for someone who has never seen one. They will point. They will not know what to call it, but they will feel it. The warmth, the color, the impossible, precise, generous magic of light passing through ice. Close your eyes now. Feel the warmth of the blanket or the evening or the memory of an afternoon sun. Whatever warmth is closest to you tonight, it is yours. It has always been yours. The sky is still doing its work above you. The stars are still burning. The ice crystals are still floating. The geometry is still playing out perfectly, as it always does. The world is still, quietly, continuously, enormously alive. And you are part of it. You are resting in it. You are safe. Good night.